My name is Alie Kabba, Executive Director of the United African Organization. I am originally from Sierra Leone, which is a country on the west coast of Africa. It's a former British colony that became independent in 1961. So we speak English there for the most part. It's the official language in addition to several other ethnic languages in Sierra Leone. And it was in 1991 that I arrived in Chicago. Very much a story about the struggles for democracy and freedom and fighting dictatorship and one-party rule in Sierra Leone. Well, like many African countries after independence, Sierra Leone went through two critical phases. One was a multi-party democracy in the beginning, but after a few years of that, we saw the military taking over. Like in many countries in Africa and South America, we saw the military intervening in politics. And after that, there was a drift towards one-party dictatorship, which meant that there was very little space for civil society. You had to be part of the one-party state or you were out. And we, at the time, decided as students that we're going to challenge this one-party autocratic rule, and I was very active in the student democratic movement at the time. I always tell people that I did organize my first demonstrations when I was in the 9th grade, so I've been causing trouble for a long time. And by the time I went to the University of Sierra Leone, I was the national student leader, and the student movement was the only civil society group that could challenge the one-party state. And of course, that meant that I was working under a lot of risk, and ended up in prison a few times and had to leave the country. And I had my first experience of being a political exile at a very young age and went to Ghana. While I was in Nigeria, I had an opportunity in 1991 then to come to Chicago. My past quickly caught up with me in the sense that I couldn't just be here and pretend that the same contradictions that I was fighting against in Sierra Leone, we're here, and I had to really start thinking about those kind of issues. And so the beginning was really tough, figuring out my space here and understanding the different ethnic groups and different races and how, as an African immigrant, I could really share my own voice and be part of this wider struggle for a more perfect union. When I was in Sierra Leone a few months ago, 4 months ago, one of the things that I observed was that there was a major demographic shift. Young people who were far more interested in exploring new ways of engaging in struggles for social justice and asking fundamentally different questions. And one of the things that I observed was the emergence of many groups in civil society, organizations that were led by ordinary people that we didn't even have when I was in the student democratic movement at the time. And so you have youth-led organizations, you have women-led organizations, you have journalists that are organized now within the framework of the Sierra Leone Journalists Association, fighting for the independence of the media. We are also seeing even labor groups now that are struggling to be independent of government and starting to organize around fair wages, better working conditions, things that were almost impossible to talk about in those days when the one-party dictatorship was really controlling every aspect of life.
You could relate your vision for Sierra Leone and how that ties into your vision here and the work that you do here in the city of Chicago. How do the two relate?
When I was in Sierra Leone recently, one of the things that I observed in myself was that I was looking at all of these different groups and the situation generally as a quintessential Chicago community organizer. By that I mean looking at it, connecting it to the work that we do here, building solidarity, working with coalitions with different groups, and developing a common agenda. Because one of the things that I say for us in Chicago is that being a relatively small immigrant community in the context of other, immigrant groups, one way that we can advance our community interest is figuring out ways to work with other groups, which is very important in the context of Sierra Leone. Because as long as all these different groups are fighting different battles and not working together, it is going to be very easy for the elite to continue to fragment opposition. And the other thing that I've been able to use in connecting my work here in Sierra Leone is the ability to start to work with different African groups in order to ensure that we work within the context of a common African agenda. It is very difficult to fight for economic transformation or changes in relation between a particular African country and Europe or North America if you do not think about African unity. So the work that we do here in bringing different African groups together within the United African Organization is indeed very important in informing our work as we move towards a continental unity government in Africa that will ensure that Africa's resources are exploited in the interest of Africans on the continent. Because if you can fight for your own separate relationship with the West here, all they're going to do is shift their focus to the next country where the government is ready to sign any deal, and then you look like you've lost. But if you all agree on a different relationship and you work together as a united continent, it will help every country grow, and therefore the state of the African people will improve. So Chicago's work is very important for me because my vision for Sierra Leone is intimately connected to the Pan-African vision of ensuring that we start to work together collectively, much like a consciousness about, bringing Latin American states together, because alone you cannot really negotiate good terms with North America. NAFTA has taught us that if you go alone, negotiate, your people are not going to benefit much. But if you come together as a collective and say, these are the terms of a new economic relations, I think ultimately everybody wins. So Chicago has made me more of a Pan-Africanist than I was even when I was in Africa.